Ladies and gentlemen, capsuleers and mercenaries, survivors of the biggest pub crawl Iceland has ever seen, hello and welcome to CCP Presents. Now, to start things off, would you please put your hands together and welcome to the stage the CEO of CCP, Hilmar Vega Pietersson.
Look at you all, mostly intact from pub crawl. Yeah. And thanks for not destroying the town. It's also mostly intact. Although tonight remains. Let's see about that. So welcome. We are now in the final day of the fairly extensive keynote program we've been putting together. And just for people that are showing up now for the first time, there's often additional people that only come here on Saturday. Then we have been, over the past 2 days, we've been having a special focus on dust, and then we did a fantastic moment for EVE Online yesterday, which was one of our best keynotes yet. And here today, we're going to talk about more sort of future-ranging things, more sort of CCP-relating things, but of course, there's going to be a huge focus on both dust and EVE, and some recap from the days before. Also want to welcome people on the stream. We're now up to 200,000 people unique that have watched the stream, which is a lot. And it's been a joy to sort of, what little I've been able to follow. I've been in the set a few times, and I really want to do a shout out to this guy, Oliver. Running a TV station for a universe is almost, he does that single-handedly. That's no small task. Go and send him some nice tweets on Twitter. Indeed. So, I mean, up until this point, we've been spending a few moments on the sort of celebrating the 10-year birthday of EVE Online, or it's upcoming on the 6th of May. And right now, we've been talking a lot more into the future. We've been talking about some concepts we're sort of looking at into the future, both for EVE, CCP, and Dust. At this moment, at this Saturday, this is sort of the moment where everyone comes together. This is when people come, when our employees come and their families, of course, the players. We have shareholders in the room, partners and press. So we're sort of summarizing a lot what is ahead for CCP. And of course, as we talked a little bit about yesterday when we're going over the history of EVE, which is also the history of CCP, it's been quite the journey so far. And it's been interesting to go and sort of, I've grouped it now into sort of 3-year periods where you can sort of very distinctively sort of follow what's going on in each of the phases. And of course, we walked through this in very pictorial detail yesterday, so I'm not going to spend time on that. But this is how it began. This is the panel from the first Fanfest, and here we have today, so this has come quite a long way. There have also been some really amazing firsts here at Fanfest. These people got married at Fanfest. And was really touching to talk to them before why this was the right place for them to do something like that. We feel tremendously honored that they picked that. And they were very happy that we were able to sort of put this together and make sense. Because, I mean, for many of us, Fanfest is like a sacred ground. When Hafest is in the Harpa, it's a holy place for us. It's for me. It feels like that. I've been doing this for 9 years, and it sort of feels that gravity. And the people are taking advantage of that to make vows to each other. It was truly touching. Also, a lot of happy people in the store, which is good to see. There have been record sales, and we will continue to find unique items to do that, and talk more about that later. Also, cosplay. I'm big on cosplay, and every chance I see, here is the head of Dust University getting in gear. We've had a lot of truly inspired developer talks. Here is Vigfús talking about EVE Offline, which you can still play there in the box outside, a fantastic side-scroller. Of course, people have been playing EVE and Dust in various tournaments, and people have been getting tattoos. It's a wonderful thing, always surprising to see how much that takes. And now we have a beta program for tattoos. So if you're not quite sure, then you can just get a little fake one to begin with. A more inspired talks. I love GM here. He is speaking with such inspiration. And some of the roundtables have frankly blown up. This one had to be moved into a new, moved outside. It was too big for the room. And this is really what Fanfest is about. It's about the players of the game talking directly to the people that make the game, see how it makes everyone happy, asking questions, getting comments, see our developers, see how happy they are when this happens. It's so much more enjoyable than doing it on the forums. And we have had some new things now. Now we have Make EVE Real track, where we have brought sort of cutting-edge technology and sci-fi in our universe sort of here on stage to further help evolve our universe. And people have been happy with this. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people have come to me and been really appreciative of this, so this is certainly something we will continue sort of figure out what makes sense and how to manage this. Yeah, exactly. Here's a goon. More from the tournament, and look at Stoffer, how happy he is. And why is that wolf there? I need to watch the recording, what's going on right there. I missed this one. We have had record amount of charity collected this Fanfest. So we are about 2 million ISK, which have been collected by the various charity events. I really want to applaud you guys that have participated in that. Of course, the charity dinner was amazing. I learned so many things when I attend these dinners. It's a huge inspiration to talk to people in that setting about EVE Online and what potential future we can hold. As much as people say that EVE Online players are bullies, it's really, I mean, it isn't like that. I haven't met a nicer bunch than all of you. And that is the feedback we get from everyone in now the extended Reykjavik, as we have 2,000 people swarming the town. Everyone that comes to me, whether it's a cab driver or a restaurant owner, they say, these people are so nice. It's, and increasingly now we also have... on with the program. So here we have the CSM7, which has done a lot of really good work. It's been one of the calmest CSMs. There's some great quotes, as John Lander was going over yesterday. And now we're about to announce the results, who is going to be on the CSM8. So here is the election participation. It's a little lower than last year, which to me, I think is a bit of an indication that things were a bit heated last year, so getting people on the CSM was a big deal. But now I would say this is calm waters. Of course, this is a lot of participation. Getting 50,000 people to vote is a lot. I was just voting myself this morning. Today, Iceland is electing a new parliament. And here is our mayor, the mayor of Reykjavik, making his vote. He owns this super cool Jedi costume, which he often sports when he's doing that. And I say they're disenfranchised voters because we did changes to the system, the election system, so that right now there's a lot more votes behind the CSM. The system is way more effective. I wish we could bring some of these changes to the election system of Iceland, because sometimes I don't feel that I'm really affecting the situation much with my vote. And of course, Iceland is in the process of making new constitution, and We, of course, will continue to take inspiration from that. But with further ado, then I'm going to put CSM8 on the screen. So here we go. Yeah. So we have a lot of new people, but we also have some veterans, like Trevor, who is now on his 4th CSM. So this to me, exactly. So as we go and chart the path through the 2nd decade of EVE Online, it's good to get some fresh hands on the CSM to go and help us chart that journey along the visions that we've been laying out now over Fanfest. And speaking about visions, I'm actually going to sort of start the dialogue by playing the future vision from Fanfest 2011.
Honor isn't about making the right choices. It's about dealing with the consequences. There's a fine line between right and wrong. You'd better know which side of it you're on.
This is Vanguard 6. We've reached the last checkpoint before the terminus.
Can you take the ground station?
Not without the close air you caused.
You'll have it. Now keep going and do what I'm paying you for.
You just send that airstrike and the money. We'll take care of the rest. 6, make it cover! Move up! Move! Use your jacks! Hey! Come on, get out of there! Where's that goddamn airstrike? We had an agreement. We did all
Airstrike aborted.
There's been a change of plans, Vanguard.
Orbital strike launched.
Help isn't coming. At all.
The moment you lose your honor, that's when you learn the hard way. Your choice always comes back around.
So we are still on this journey of bringing about this future vision. Of course, we've learned many lessons along that journey, and we'll continue to find better ways to stride more effectively towards this mission without losing sight of any of the current priorities as we've been working through, and we'll be working through more. Because it's all about making this real. And I want to come back to the Make Eve track. I actually want to go and applaud these guys again for coming here and sharing with us. And this track actually came together when I saw the Kickstarter for the space elevator on the moon that Michael Lane started last year. And I quickly pulled out my own credit card and backed for some tier that was representative of my need to have a space elevator on the moon. And we have been on a journey now for some time to build a space elevator in EVE Online. There is something about the concept of a space elevator that really ties together the linking of the planet surfaces and space. And as we're a company that builds purpose around linking those things together, then there's something about taking an elevator to space that represents how connected these two worlds are. Although a space elevator is maybe not the most sexy thing. I think about it like a train to space or like a maglev to space. This is something that is a part of the future vision and has been there in the trailer since beginning. And this is something that we see become, as we progress through the years, to become a strategic hub for people to fight over in the universe as we build out the multi-year strategy. And we'll see some of that as the program progresses. I also want to do a shout out to our Chinese players, some of which are watching the stream. And I want to do it in the context of the team from TN City, which is here with us at Fanfest. Here they are. And there in the middle, we see Horace, who is CCP's first employee in China. He actually sent me a letter in 2005 with a business case about bringing Eve to China. And we've been on that journey. We were first with one partner, and now we re-released at the end of last year. And we just released Retribution last week, and we're seeing phenomenal success, and these are amazing partners we're working with. They were actually doing a talk earlier today where they showed a fantastic greeting video from the players of Serenity, sort of giving a greeting here into Fanfest. And we're going to be releasing that later. But we're also thinking about ideas how we can link more Tranquility and Serenity together at Fanfest. Maybe we can hold a cross-international tournament and find some ways to link the worlds together, even though currently the Chinese government is not super excited about linking them directly together. But things will progress. Now I want to talk a little bit about this. This is something we announced a few months ago, that EVE Online was basically brought into the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And Torfi Frans Ólafsson has been working on this project and many other projects in a new division which we have formed, which is called the EVE IP Development Division, where we're now organizing a lot of the activities we've been doing around sort of products which are not computer games that CCP is engaged with, and it's branded sort of in the EVE universe. And Torfi is going to bring with him Paola Antonelli, who's a senior curator at the Museum of Modern Art. So please welcome on stage Torfi and Paola.
Wow. Thank you, and thank you, Paula, for acquiring us into the MoMA. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here, Torfi. Hello to everybody, to the live streamers, to the 8th Council. Always happy to be here. It's been quite an amazing ride, and you know, EVE Online is part of the first 14 video games ever acquired into the MoMA collection. And this acquisition was important for many different reasons, not only because it is the first time that video games are acquired into an art collection, not only because it was such an interesting experiment, but also because EVE Online is possibly the first live acquisition for MoMA. You know, together with other games like Dwarf Fortress, you know, the Brother Adams are here today. It is a game that exists out in the real world. You cannot really stop it, you cannot freeze it. All you can do is establish a relationship with CCP and with the EVE Online community. And in fact, I have to thank you all for capturing a day in the life of EVE Online so that we can show it to the audiences in New York. So this is truly a recognition of a wonderful achievement in interaction design, but especially it's the recognition of a new way of designing, which is to get something started and then putting it out there so that the whole world can build it. And I'm so happy to have been able to do that with you.
Thank you, Paula. I think it's pretty awesome. I was lucky enough to be in New York when we were installing the piece, and it was like a technical installation. And I had to take like a small break, and I went upstairs to the next floor to see what else they had. And they had some like pictures of soup cans and this painting. I think I saw this at the doctor's once, and another like omk painting from Sweden. So it was pretty remarkable. Norway. It's the same thing. And then going down a flight of stairs and seeing this, the world of New Eden, and seeing the installation of EVE Online on there. And this is an excerpt from the installation itself. It's pretty remarkable. Rather than creating a crazy cinematic video of EVE Online, we, like Paula said, we took everything that happened on December 9th last year and tried to communicate that from a bird's eye view. This, for example, are all the player kills that occurred on the server that particular day. And we also you provided us with videos, with recordings of what you did that day. There were people mining, there were people doing missions, some people doing trade. There was a large number of griefing videos with like sinister laughing. I thought this one's pretty cool. This is all the email that occurred during that particular day. And also seeing the login chart, like where are people coming from? Here, the blue color represents America, and here the Americans are logging in early in the morning, but then they start going asleep, and Western Europe starts coming in yellow. And then you start seeing Eastern Europe and Russia marked in red, and you can see kind of what areas and what regions of space they inhabit. I thought that was pretty cool. And we discovered a lot of things when we were building these pieces, things that we haven't visualized before. We've only seen them in tables. These are all the jumps that occurred on that particular day. I think it's pretty beautiful. And let's give a hand to the people that actually made this, the developers out there. It's really cool. Now the full video runs like 8.5 minutes, so if you're in New York for the next year or so, it's going to be there for a year. I totally recommend it to check out the MoMA and that Norwegian piece as well. Now, what is the EVE universe? What is it? Yes, it is you. It is the sum of everything that has happened since 2003 into infinity. Function of EVE to the players, represented as P in this equation. We thought that, that was the original concept of what the EVE universe was. And then it grew. People piled on, and because people piled on and they gave us money, which is nice, we invested that money back into development and into features and added features. All the features you can think about. And this used to be our policy for, that was the way of thinking, is that we had this vision of building the world of EVE Online, fleshing out New Eden, and we have all these crazy ideas. And it's not they're not even original ideas. They come somewhere from the ether and we just pick them up, I think. It's like we're constantly opening up new and different windows into the EVE universe. But we were trying to do it through the EVE Online client. And as we discovered, that is not enough. That's not the way. We cannot fully represent the entire EVE universe just through that piece of software, the EVE Online client. So Dust 514, launched in 2015, is another dimension, and you notice the multiplication symbol there and not the plus symbol, because there's a compounding effect that happens when these two kind of shards interact. And also, there's also stuff outside these games that are part of the universe. We've already published 3 books. We have all these chronicles. Our trailers are almost like short films in themselves. So there's this different media in different formats, denoted by FMT. I had to put this equation in there just to nerd out. Forgive me. It can be represented there. And the M is what we are talking about here today, or what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm involved in. Because the universe is vast. It is huge. It's got all these 7,000 solar systems, all these planets. Some of them are inhabited, some of them are not inhabited, and I want to know what's going on these planets. On some barren, archaic, terrible 2G planet, really inhospitable. There's maybe an outpost where like 4 sweaty guys drink wave and watch holoreels and do something behind closed doors. And what happens behind those doors? What motivates them, and what are their stories? And we can't really tell that story through EVE Online, the game client, and not necessarily through Dust 514 right now. But of course, we have all these crazy stories that have emerged in the game. And also, the physical representation, manifestation of the stuff that's in it. I actually want to own holoreels on my desk, and I want to like have a can of long limeros. We wanted to make protein delicacies, but health authorities refused to participate in making the correct ingredients into protein delicacies. Look it up if you are unfamiliar with the backstory. So we also want to make clothes. But as me and Hilmar and others discovered, we're not really good at selling clothes or designing them. And also in terms of just expanding the universe, so there are some things that we at CCP are pretty good at, and others we just should rather seek outside help, seek professional help, and partner with like best of breed companies. And Mustard Brand is one of those companies. It's a clothing label, and they do gamer clothes, and they do like they've treated other game IPs like Deus Ex and Assassin's Creed and others, and they do clothes that are designed for gamers. These are not clothes that are just walking billboards, trying to make human billboards out of players, like advertising the product. They are designed by gamers. The people designing the EVE clothes are just hardcore EVE players who know the IP really well. So we've come up with this new like clothing label, which is called the 0.0. And the clothes from this label are now available on a newly opened EVE store. We finally refreshed the EVE store. And again, they are really good at running stores. We actually weren't that really good at running online stores, as some of you may have found out. But they're really good at it. And they like do a quality service and quality products and so on. And they've come up with some really, really nice designs that kind of refer back to things that are in EVE, things that you know, things that you recognize, but are not necessarily like these massive billboards. Things that are just cool and nice to wear. And also, when you're wearing this, you will be certain to get that kind of Fight Club-esque consenting nod across the room from that other dude. Recognizes the Kaldari officer shirt and knows what you're about. We're also looking into 3D printing. 3D printing is really exciting and it's really cool, and I wish I would have some like 3D printed product out here, but we are actually juggling several cool ideas. The team in Shanghai actually made this really nice prototype of a dust mercenary, and they printed this out. You can see this actually in the EVE store downstairs. And we're also looking at taking other elements and other things from the EVE IP and printing them. And even further, we are looking at printing things that are uniquely customized and tailored, that they represent like who you are and the stuff that you have created in the game. Because 3D printing is about mass customization. It's not about mass manufacturing the same thing again and again and again. It's about making something that's kind of unique and personal to you. Now, as you have noticed, we recently launched a website called True Stories of EVE Online. And some of you have seen the exciting Viking-themed ad for that particular website, where we basically, the thing is that there are all these amazing stories of things that you have done in the game. And these stories have a much deeper resonance and much more interesting, sadly, than the made-up stories about emperors and corporation kind of executives and NPCs that we have made up. When we tell people outside CCP, and when we talk to media people, when we talk to people in various offices around the world, of various media companies around the world, we tell them about these stories, their eyes light up and they say, really, did this really happen? An alliance of that size? And this happened over like 3 years, and he betrayed him? Cannot be, and so on. And because these are interesting human stories that kind of transcend sci-fi and they transcend EVE Online, and we want, but they're all spread around. They are on forums and they are on some blogs, and some of them are just told verbally, and we wanted a place where we could bring these stories together. You could help us figure out what were the most interesting stories through voting and so on, and then we could perhaps do something with them. And if you haven't gone to the site now, I completely recommend that you do. Right now, we're only capturing the stories of the first decade. So submissions will be open until May 7th. It used to be 1st, but it's now May 7th, so it's the full decade. And also, after a couple of announcements that we're just about to make, you may actually want to go again to that site and revise or submit a new story. The first way to tell these stories is, how do you tell these stories? What's the most accessible way and efficient way to tell an interesting story and get it fast out to people and do it in a visual style without spending $100 million? And one of those ways is to do a comic book. So we thought, okay, let's do comic books. But how should we do it? Should we take all of the artists that work on spaceships, take them away from 3 years, and have them make comic books? And that would be a lot of fun for them, but that would mean no new spaceships for you and no new art. So that plan doesn't work. And again, we're not a company that makes comics books, so we want to partner with somebody who knows how to do it and knows how to do it properly. So who should we partner with? What company should we partner with? They have to have great authors, an artist, of course. And they must have a proven track record of dealing with intellectual properties and treating them with respect. So, and they have to have a logo. They don't have to have a logo, but their logo actually represents a piece of a thing that Jack Woltz, the movie producer, found in his satin sheets as he woke up, covered in blood, a horse head. So we've been working on this deal for quite a while now, and really happy to announce that we've made a deal with Dark Horse Comics to develop comic books and other products. And Dark Horse have published other interesting things that may be known to you, like this story here, and these, and this, and also this, which had great authors and was done and treated the IP really well. So we think they're cool. And I'm happy to announce an upcoming comic book that will be released this winter called True Stories. It's inspired by player-driven events from the True Stories website or forums or blog, but that's one of the purpose of the True Stories website is to get these stories out there. It's going to be 64 pages. There's going to be 4 stories in it, so each one is 16 pages. So there's going to be 4 artist-writer teams working on them. And because we want you to get them, and we're not evil yet, the digital version will be available for free. Awesome. So that's one side of the coin. You could say that the EVE universe is it's the stuff that you do, it's the stuff that it's player generated and player made, and then at the other side of the coin is the lore itself. It's the foundation, it's the story of New Eden, it's the backstory of the races, the story of the factions, the major NPCs and the major players. So we wanted to do a separate thing on that. And of course, this one's going to be available in high print. We're doing EVE Source. Now this is a source book. This is completely in character book that tells you everything that you want to know about the EVE universe and the Justify 1.4. It's the best source of material this side of the gate. So it's going to be this nice glossy thing you can put on a coffee table and show to your friends. It's like a full cover, hardcover, 184 pages, full of art and lore. And and a lot of it will never have been seen before or read before. So this is something that I can show to my mom to explain what I do at work. Has pictures. And who knows what more? we will do with this. So, if you haven't done it now, check out the site, the True Stories website, submit your story, read over the stories, and come May 7th, start voting up or down, comment on the stories, and put in your feedback. You can put pros and cons to the stories, and just definitely check it out. And thank you. And
yeah, I want to take some sort of highlights from what Torvi was talking about, and there are maybe two things I want to point out, which you will be seeing as a recurring theme as we progress through the rest of the keynote, is that one, we have created a structure within CCP to better hold prioritization and focus on this topic. Of course, we've been doing a lot over the past 10 years, from an initial concept where we made Eve socks, and we had Hofi when she was at the front desk answering telephones and then shipping socks around the world. So we've been doing this for a while in terms of taking the IP outside of the client. But now we have created an organization within CCP where there is priority and focus on this, accountability, and it's a structure that can hold that. So Torvi is now focusing on making sure that this happens, and he has a team with him to make that happen. It's not a big team, but the main thing is to work with partner on this. So when you see these things will be coming about. They will be coming about more aggressively than before. There's also another thing I want to highlight, which is it's about taking you places. So we are now taking your stories into comics. We're taking it to some other places, the stories from the True Stories website. We'll be talking about that later. And I mean, just as when we were sending the USB key with the names and faces of players into space in the Space Hamster project last year, which some of you watched live happening, that was taking your names into two places. And there is also an element with the Museum of Modern Art, which is taking what you create in the world to new places. So it's taking your stories, taking you as your characters in EVE Online to new places. I now want to welcome David Reed on stage. He's going to summarize some of the things that have been progressing since he was here talking to you on Fanfest last year. And he also has goodies. David. Here.
Thank you, Hilmar. And it's hard to watch the stuff that Torfi's been talking about and not get fired up about it. There is, again, it just sort of reminds you how different this game is. Is it really a game? Is it something deeper than that, because it's something that all of you are pouring parts of your soul into and making these stories something bigger than simply the things that happen in other games. And you know, it reminds me of part of what I talked about here last year when we sat down on making an ambitious goal happen. The idea that we could make Eve plus Dust the world's largest game, or perhaps in another way to say it more eloquently, build the biggest universe in the universe. Now, this is not a small thing. It will be an effort, and we're heading down that direction bit by bit here. Here's a couple steps that have happened along the way to check in on the progress. As you know, January 10th, we officially linked Eve and Dust 514 through Tranquility. So now, for the first time, we had mercenaries on the ground, actually on the planets that Eve capsuleers were flying around. And we followed that up fairly quickly with the announcement of the Dust Open Beta on January 22nd. And we continued from there in terms of driving some certain things between the storylines, between Eve and Dust, linking these things together, making some of the events that you read about in Templar 1 and in other places come to life and come to be something that you yourselves were participants in. This, of course, manifested with what we did at PAX East with the Battle of Caldari Prime. And again, keep in mind, that was merely something that was done with the game in beta without a lot of, effort around getting that actually to be a bigger and bigger thing. And we've learned a lot from Caldari Prime and how people got into it, and we really thought deeply about how to make these events bigger. And so when we start thinking about being the biggest universe in the universe again, it's important to remember that we achieved this at some level on January 2011 when the peak concurrency on Tranquility surpassed 63,000, being the largest number of peak concurrent players on a game server in history. I can tell you now that since Dust has entered open beta, we have eclipsed that number already. But before we make a big deal about what exactly that number is, you're going to see us getting into some of these events and making things happen this year that just blow right past this number. And what we'll tell you is the next time we come back to you and tell you what that PCU record is, it's going to be over 100,000, and we will be the only member of the 100,000 club. And we're going to be doing it with you. You're going to have your chance to get into those record books alongside us, and we couldn't be more excited about what the integration of Dust and Eve together bring for us in terms of those stories. Now, it's impossible to hit these kinds of numbers without players. And of course, one of the things that we've really spent a lot of time on in the past year is getting together more with you in person, not just here at Fanfest, but at player gatherings that we've done around the world, some of the community gatherings you guys have done. We've tried to support that deeply. And so to that end, one of the things that we are getting behind in a bigger way this year than we ever have before is Eve Vegas. Now, we've had a great relationship with David Cohen, who runs Eve Vegas over the years. We've supported him by sending a lot of staff and working on this, but we all see a great opportunity to make Eve Vegas even bigger. And we think it's really important to be doing these sorts of things because not everyone can make it to FanFest, and we know how important it is to keep face-to-face with you, to hear your feedback in person. Yeah, it's great to have internet forums and to get petitions and things like that, but there's nothing quite like this and seeing that passion with you directly. So we're going to be working with David and crew to make Eve Vegas bigger and better in a couple of different ways. We will be bringing more developers. We will be doing roundtables, reveals, presentations, and more. We're working on a big on-site tournament, again, to mirror some of what we've done here with Eve and Dust, and we'll be announcing those details as soon as we can. But one of the things that we're also doing to make Vegas bigger than it's ever been is we're going to allow you to buy your ticket for Eve Vegas with Plex. So we're excited about that as an opportunity now, as another way to make Plex happen in the real world and do that with you. And of course, being in Vegas itself offers a lot of opportunities for a lot of fun and other things in the natural environment there. So if that makes sense for you and it's something you're interested in, we can tell you that it'll be something that'll be very complementary to what we're doing at FanFest. It's the first of other things that we plan to do. But early bird tickets are on sale now for Eve Vegas. Eve Vegas is 18th to 20th of October in Las Vegas, Nevada. We hope to see you there. Now, one of the things that occurred to me as well of working with a group of players like yourselves, it struck me as kind of interesting when I got here to CCP that for a game that has been as successful as it has, for a community that's been as passionate as you are, this game has never really had a proper collector's edition. And part of making things bigger and better in the second decade feels like doing a bit of what we're doing here at FanFest, sort of reflecting on the past, but the present and the future as well. And so part of this now, pleased to announce that we are launching this year the Eve Second Decade Collector's Edition. Now, this is something, thank you, this is something that's going to have, of course, as like you have right now at FanFest, a mix of the present, the past, and the future. Let's talk a little bit about the present and some of the items that you're going to get in game. So, first of all, we know that maybe you don't really like seeing your pod on screen. It's not exactly a highlight of your day, but you can do that at least with a little more style now with the Golden Pod, a cosmetic item that we're giving to everybody in the Collector's Edition, so you have at least a bit of a fashion makeover when this moment happens to you. We've also got a full set of male and female avatar clothing that'll be added, and the Gnosis battle cruiser that John Lander introduced last night as part of the Eve 10th birthday gift will be giving you a 5-run blueprint of that fairly impressive ship that you get in the Collector's Edition as well. Now, additionally, we did something with the Task Mercon Magnate over the holiday, I think, and a popular Amar exploration frigate, but we figured we'd deck that out with a new skin for you. And one of the other things that we're going to be having in the Collector Edition on the EVE Online side is a bit of a time capsule. More digital items in there celebrating lore, memes, important moments in the history of EVE Online. So all that on the EVE Online side. But of course, it's important for us to celebrate the launch of Dust 514 as well. And to that end, we will be giving you a new set of drop suits and weapons themed in the Amar side. So we've got these are permanent items. They aren't consumable. You don't need to replenish or restock them. Here's a look at the Templar Assault drop suit. The Templar Heavy drop suit, which factored heavily, as you may have seen in the FanFest trailer that we showed last year. and the Templar logistics drop suit. And it's very fitting that we're starting this off in the second decade collector's edition with the Hilmar Templar, because if you think back to Templar 1, that's really where the Dust Mercenary was born. So it's a chance to get some really nice looking things there. Additionally, we are adding in an Hilmar laser rifle, scrambler pistol, and scrambler rifle. And putting all these things together makes for a pretty impressive view. I can't pretend that I subscribe to Hilmar philosophy, but I do admire their ability to make beautiful weapons and armor here. Now, two other things that we're doing on the digital side for people who make a pre-purchase of this. There are 2 additional in-game items. We have a Savage Nefantar Thrasher here for EVE Online. And on the Dust 514 side, that uplink there that you see in the middle is an Hilmar drop uplink that is also a permanent spawn point item. Those 2 items come together for people who pre-purchase the item. Now, going to more real-world items that also added this, an important part of any good collector's edition. You will remember that when we opened Fanfest this year, we opened with the Icelandic Symphony playing the music of EVE. And so one of the things we felt was fitting to add to the collector's edition was a soundtrack of the symphony. Now, I do want to make clear, this is not the only way to get the soundtrack, right? As Hilmar said as he opened in his keynote, we're going to find other ways to get that to people, but we did feel this was an appropriate thing to include in a second decade collector's edition and a nice bonus for purchasers. We also wanted to do something a little more real with the ships of EVE Online, and so to that end, we bring you the Minmatar Rifter. And it's not just a model. It's a 4-port USB hub. And we've gotten it to work in such a way, and this is a prototype, you'll see a more polished version as we go along here, but that when you have the USBs plugged in and data is actually transmitting, the little light up there lights up much like your Rifter should. It'll come on as data goes in and out and things like that. So we're pretty excited about how this has come together as well. Now, one of the things we also talked about when we sat down to make a collector's edition, we spent some time with the CSM over the holiday and asked them, look, what are some things that you think the players will love, what's going to resonate, what's important? And one of the things that we heard that was really interesting was, can you give us something that helps us explain to other people what EVE really is? You know, my family, my wife, my brother, you know, people who see how involved I am in this, but maybe don't quite get it. And part of the feedback we took with that and in that discussion was, you know, maybe what makes sense is just a premium hardcover book. You know, something analogous to what Torfi just talked about with EVE Source, but on the other side of the EVE Gate, if you will. Something that chronicles not just the history of CCP as a company, but the history of EVE Online as a game, influenced not just around the fiction that we wrote, but the events that you guys have all participated in and such. And so one of the big items that we have in the collector's edition is a 190-page hardcover into the second decade that celebrates the beginnings of CCP and EVE Online all the way up to the modern day and the integration with Dust 514. And in order to do this, we had to think really hard about, well, who is the right person to write such a book? Who is somebody that can do this justice? And after some time, it became very clear to us that, you know, who better to help us write into the second decade than somebody who's been chronicling your adventures in the history of New Eden for the first decade. And so with that, I ask you to give a warm welcome to Richie Zapatero Shoemaker, retired editor of Eon Magazine. Thanks for coming on, Richie.
Good to be here.
So what can you tell us a bit about kind of the thought process here of what do you expect to see as we make the second decade book happen here?
Well, there was the 2007, there was the Art of Eve book, obviously, and when we sat down to think about this, we didn't really want to supersede it as complement it. And there were 3 main ways that I think we've said about doing that. One is to obviously tell the story of the development of the Eve universe through lovely words and pictures. And the second thing was to highlight some of the community endeavors that have taken place over the years that have happened either subsequent to development or lost the word. never mind. And the third thing was to kind of take all the unique aspects of Eve, that some of the things we take for granted, like the single server and the CSM, things like that.
Exactly.
And kind of ask people who've been playing Eve, been commentating on Eve, writing about Eve, the bloggers, the journalists, and ask them to look at those unique aspects from their unique perspective.
Cool. Well, we've already gotten the book into some pretty good pre-production here, and so I thought we'd show you a few pages of this. This one made me laugh quite a bit, of course, because for those who don't know, there was a game from a company called Electronic Arts you might have heard of. They were making a game called Earth and Beyond that a lot of people thought was going to be the reason EVE Online wouldn't be successful, and yet 10 years later, here we are. And Earth and Beyond is not. So we're excited about this. Beyond that, as Richie said, a lot of look at the empires, the lore, some of the history and things like that were put into the EVE universe on the fictional side, but also a good bit about the actual, the birth of EVE itself, the beta process going live and things. And again, some of what, going directly to, members of the community, members of the press, in the same spirit as Torfi and Hilmar talked about the true stories aspect of things, of making sure we chronicle those appropriate histories of EVE and bringing them to life. So we've got some of that happening here as well.
Yeah, and I think we're still a ways away from completing the book. But what we'd like to do is similar to the true stories thing you've just announced. We'd like people to collect their predictions for the second decade, and also the pictures they've taken over the years, whether it's player meets or screenshots or stills of videos they've done over the time. And hopefully in a couple of weeks there'll be some kind of dev blog that will tell people how we can get hold of that stuff.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks a bunch, Richie, and we'll keep pushing this forward with you. Thank you. Now, as much as we are celebrating the second decade of EVE Online, it is important to remember that, as Rainier mentioned yesterday, EVE Online is actually not the first game that CCP made. That first game, Spiel, if I have pronounced that well, was a board game, and the proceeds of the board game were used to help fund the development of EVE Online. It was wildly successful here in Iceland, selling 10,000 units into about 70,000 households. I mean, in the United States, that would be like 20 million units being sold. So it's really a fascinating thing that happened here. And yet, as important as this game is in the history of CCP, and as much as you could see the fingerprints of Spiel along EVE Online as a heavy PvP game, as Rainier said, it's not been a game that anybody else has been able to play unless you speak and read Icelandic. So one of the other things Rainier mentioned yesterday is that the woman on the front of the box is actually the current mayor of Reykjavik, Jan Nar. And Jan has not just been a colorful mayor in his own right, but was an actor and comedian prior to getting elected, and has had a bit of a moment of internet celebrity here over the past few months in Reddit forums and dressing in drag for the Pride parades here, bringing his family to the Harpa in his Jedi attire. So when we started thinking about getting back to making another thing here with Jan, it was interesting. Just a couple weeks ago, he posted this photo on his Facebook page. Now, I can't read Icelandic, but the people who can assured me that what happened there when he posted this was everyone was like, "Ooh, are you guys remaking the Danger game?" Well, the answer is, yes, we are. Now, the Danger game itself, as a board game, had photos of actors who were playing certain roles in the games and things like that. And we decided a more authentic way to do this was to work with the mayor again, but also to bring CCP employees into the mix. And so here is CCP Guard, who isn't just an important member of our community team and the leader of Permaband. He's also playing the role of the drug dealer in Danger Game. And even Svenny can't quite outrace the long arm of the law from Ms. Mayer, as you see here in some of our pictures that you'll find coming into the game. So it's a really important part of CCP and EVE history, and now it's available in English for the first time, and I couldn't be more excited about it. So a good bit of the present, a good bit of the past, but one more thing that we've got here in the Collector's Edition is a little nod to the future. And so what you get in the Collector's Edition is a series of codes, one for the Dust in-game items, one for the Eve in-game items, but we've also got what I've called the mystery code. This is a code that'll have multiple purposes, and you'll be able to use it over the next decade as parts of future CCP products, future CCP releases. We're not going to tell you what those are now. We have a couple of good ideas on what you might expect to see there, but this will be something you're going to want to hold on to, and as a CCP fan who has a mystery code, you will find value in this over the next 10 years. So a lot of stuff to look forward to there. And all in, it's a fairly big offering that we're pretty proud of, and we are now able to say that pre-purchases are available now. It's $149 and 149 euros, shipping October 2013. It's also going to be, it's available on the Eve store, which Torfi talked about a little bit today, but it'll also be available in the US from Amazon and at retail in Germany through Flashpoint. So. So one last thing in this part here is about Dust 514, and you know we had a lot of fun sharing with you kind of the genesis of the marketing idea, the soul of the brand. You know, this bit of key art I've started seeing around. We've gotten a lot of terrific feedback from all of you about this. One of the things we thought we'd do here as a close is we'd show the TV spot one more time, and then I've got one last thing to tell you.
It's a war. Wars don't end. They just pause between rounds while each side catches its breath. We need war. It's how people get rich. It's how progress happens. As long as there's someone with an axe to grind, I've got a job. And I'm not going anywhere.
Rated T for Teen. Download now, only on PlayStation Network.
So part of what's important here, of course, you know, we talked about this idea, thank you, of the vicious cycle, the endless cycle of death and rebirth that you as a Dust mercenary or you as an Eve Capsuleer get to be part of. And this, of course, is it's very symbolic and emblematic of the journey that we are on together with you, that we have been on for the past 10 years in Eve Online, and we are about to go on to in a big way with Dust 514. And so to that end, we're very excited to announce that Dust 514 is launching on 514, May 14th, 2013. Now, launch is a big step, but it is only a step in this journey. There, you know, as you've come to learn from us with EVE Online, you can expect the game to continually get approved on, for additions to happen on a regular basis, you know, a continuous commitment of development, of listening to feedback and adding to things. We're very proud of the Uprising build that you'll be getting on May 6th. We'll be adding more on May 14th, but that doesn't stop. And we intend for Dust to last another decade and far outlive the platform that it happens to be launching on and be an integral part of the EVE universe with the same level of gravitas that its players will now have with the FPS genre as MMO players now have with EVE Online. And to tell you more about that roadmap and that journey, we're welcoming back Brandon Lorino, the executive producer of Dust 514. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks. Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Hi. So, as David mentioned, we're launching Dust 514 on 514, May the 14th. We're really excited about that. So, as we've said before, Uprising is deploying May 6th. Those of you already playing will get a bit of a head start. And then on 514, we have some more content for you, more than is already in the Uprising release, which we're really proud to be coming out of beta with. So we've got 3 new weapons for you. Those of you at Fanfest have been able to try them out. They are the Amar Scrambler Rifle, the Mimitar Flaylock Pistol, what I affectionately call the Missile Pistol, and the Galenti Plasma Launcher, which is like a straight-up rocket launcher. And all 3 of these new weapons really introduce new core dynamics into the shooter gameplay, and we're really happy to bring them to you on our launch date. We've got a new game mode, Domination, which is like a King of the Hill game mode. We know you all love that, and we've been having a lot of fun with it internally, so we're excited to release that to you. And we've got new terrain and battlegrounds, so there's more maps, even more maps than we're revealing on May 6th, coming on the 14th, and we think you'll be really excited about that too. But we're here to talk about the future. So this next section of the keynote will go into the first decade of Dust, the second decade of the EVE universe, and we're really excited to bring to you a vision of that. So there you have an example of where Dust can go as we start to introduce more racial variety into the environments. So let's start with drop suits. As I mentioned in the Dust keynote, we've introduced the Gallente Medium, the Minmatar Light, and the Amar Medium with the Uprising update, and I'd like to show you what we will reveal to round out the complete set of racial variants for each of the drop suits. The Caldari Light and Caldari Heavy, the Gallente Light and the Gallente Heavy, the Minmatar Light and Minmatar Heavy, and the Amar Light. With this, we have the complete set of racial variety represented in Dust 514 with the drop suits. And then there's all of the roles, classes, color customization that we bring along with that. And we're very excited to bring that to you very, very soon. Not TM. Yeah. Thank you. So let's do the same thing with weapons. How about that? Sounds good, right? So knives, for example. We've had the good old Caldari Nova knife. In fact, one of our CPM members have named himself after this very weapon, and he's quite vicious with it. So for example, we would introduce the full range of racial variants for each of the knives. And they all come along with a distinct look and feel and attributes appropriate to each race. Pistols, another example. We've had the good old Amar Scrambler pistol, and now introducing the Minmatar Flaylock pistol, the missile pistol. In addition, we would have the Caldari Rail pistol and the Gallente Ion pistol. Yeah, some claps on. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'm really happy that you're all getting excited about this, because I think when you see all this continue to roll out, you really get a sense of the scope and scale of what we're bringing with Dust and the EVE universe. So rifles, another example, the good old machine gun of Dust 514. So we've had well, I'll go back a little bit just to illustrate this better, getting ahead of myself. So we've had the Gallente Assault, and now with Uprising on 514, introducing the Amar Scrambler rifle. But of course, the Caldari Rail rifle and the Minmatar Combat rifle are coming. And you can extrapolate this across the entire range of weapons that we have. But I'd like to focus on the rifles for just a moment. So again, we've had the Gallente Assault for quite a while. It's been our sort of standard machine gun, and it works best at medium, close range, and delivers a lot of damage at that range. Now with the Amar Scrambler rifle, it's an energy-based weapon and is effective against shields. It uses a different ammo type. And again, it's more of a mid-range sort of weapon. The Minmatar Combat Rifle is sort of just like the Minmatar throughout the rest of the EVE universe, balanced. That will become sort of the standard machine gun. And the Caldari Rail Rifle exchanges range for damage versus the Gallente, for example, just like it does in the EVE universe. And again, this sort of logic propagates across all of the weapons that we're working on in Dust 514 that really brings an unprecedented depth to the shooter genre like never seen before. Different grenades, shotguns, sniper rifles, submachine guns, the list goes on and on. Vehicles, how about we do the same thing with that? So already we've introduced the Caldari and Gallente racial variants of the LAV, the HAV, and the dropship, the light assault vehicle, heavy assault vehicle, and dropship. But let's just have a quick look at what a Minmatar or Amar one might look like. These are concepts, work in progress, but again, really distinctly capturing the look and feel of each of the races. But let's continue. The MCCs. We've had the Caldari Galenti MCC to date. But what about the Amar and Mimitar? And the rollout of these MCCs is really important because that's what's going to build to the Conquest gameplay, the full sandbox on the battlefield. And as we expand from high-sec to low-sec with Planetary Conquest and then to null-sec, so too will the battlefield expand and become a sandbox for all kinds of different theaters of war and exploration. The RDV, the good old RDV, how about that? Let's have a look at the Galenti one. It's pretty sexy, just like the Galenti. Mixed opinions, of course. But how about we talk about vehicles that you've never seen before? Like the MAV. We have the light assault vehicle, the heavy assault vehicle. This would be the medium assault vehicle in Caldari and Galenti variety. And let's talk about fighters. The jet plane of Dust 514. You've seen it in action in some prototype form, but as you can see, it's coming along really nicely. And lastly, speeders, our solo vehicle, our rapid transport, again in Caldari and Galenti variety. Okay? What's not here, and I'm already prepared for the disappointment, are MTACs, the mechs of Dust 514 in the EVE universe, and they're not here for a very specific reason. We don't want to show them yet. We'll release it when it's ready, and it will be amazing. But I'd like to focus on these two for just another moment. So I'd like to start by showing you a video of the fighter. So there is our work in progress animation test of the fighter, the Caldari fighter, and as you can see, again, we're capturing the look and feel and flavor of the Caldari race. And how about the speeder? Again, solo, rapid transport, quick deployment. This, as our battlegrounds expand and expand, this will help you get around quickly. So let's talk about drones. Drones are essentially the rats of Dust 514 in MMO terms. This is what you'll grind against. This is what you'll co-op with your buddies against as they infest different areas of space and your own territory. And so again, from high-sec to low-sec to null-sec, there will be increasing difficulty in the PvE missions and the kinds of drones that you'll encounter. Carton Pierre will be coming on in just a moment to talk a little bit more about the vision for that. But let's take a look at the small drone. Just like the drop suits, it'll be able to equip the smaller variety of weapons and do weird things like throw grenades and utilize some of the other weapons that we have, like melee and so forth. The mediums, as you can see, it's got a front-mounted HMG on it, and it'll be quite fierce. And of course, it'll have more armor and shields. And as, again, you progress in difficulty, so too will the drones, culminating with our large. And if you can imagine this thing, or a couple of these with some forge guns pointed right at you, there'll be some very formidable opponents indeed. And this is the hive from which they spawn. And I'd like to talk a little bit for just a moment about the two game modes that we're working on with PvE. One is called Survival, where you'll be in a particular location and you'll be fending off waves and waves of the drones. And the other is Infestation, where you'll be exploring the vast landscape that our incredible map technology enables to hunt down these hives and eliminate the drone infestation. So to that point, let's talk about environments, finally. So this is the next evolution of Flowers and Friends, trees. Alien plant life in Dust 514 is the next evolution of our vegetation system. And we're really excited to bring that to you as we continue to breathe life into the EVE universe. This is an example of a Amar architecture. And just like the weapons, vehicles, drop suits, and everything else, so too will we be creating racial variety with our environmental components. And that utilizes, it is amazing. Again, the scale and scope of what we're creating here is unprecedented in the history of interactive entertainment. So if you can imagine, using our amazing map generation techniques, Kjartan Pierre went into detail on it last year with his Seeding the Universe presentation, and Anders Kaspersen showed it in Reflecting the Universe, the way we take different terrains and different texture sets, different environmental effects, and different socketed components, such as the SIs, that you build and put them into the environments dynamically to really populate all of these thousands of planets in New Eden. So again, if you extrapolate that from what we've done with the Caldari and Galenti, the possibilities are really exciting. And we're working on tons of these environments. All of these things are in active production at the moment, from Mimitar, Amara architecture, to new kinds of environments to play in. That's a large socketed highway component. And here we have some interesting stuff, such as a snow environment, a Galenti research facility, and on the lower right, what looks like the interior of a Titan. Which might spawn something that I affectionately call penetration game mode. And we'll be talking about that more in just a moment. This is what we call the mining platform. And again, this is a new type of gameplay environment that would take place on platforms and have a lot of verticality to them, and maybe even zero gravity. And finally, a vision of the SCC, the Surface Command Center, the crown jewel of surface infrastructure that you can build on the districts and planets that you conquer, which we've now put in your hands with the Uprising update. Again, as we expand to nullsec, the stakes will be higher and it will be much harder to get out to those areas of space. And we really want the conflict for planets and territory there to be truly epic. And what you're looking at there is the base of a space elevator. So, again, if you extrapolate where we're going with this, the connection between, for instance, a surface command center and an orbital command center and the space elevator that can be built in between really represents the richest sci-fi vision ever created. Thank you. So lastly, I'd like to show another new environment type that we're very far along with and could deploy at any moment. Ice and snow, using again our incredible dynamic map generation, using all of our existing environments and new environments created just for this, we're able to deploy this very easily across the entire EVE universe. So we will be reseeding with new environments as ice and snow, lava, gas, and other planets in Dust 514 become explorable. And again, this will all be part of the free updates that we bring to you on a regular basis. While Uprising is packed full of amazing features, we're not making it a sequel. It's not a $60 expansion. It is yet another free update that we bring to you in our unprecedented game as a service. And to go further into where we're going with that, here is Kjartan Pierre Elmelson. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi there. First of all, I'd like to say one thing that I think is important, because even though some of these things that we're presenting sound like something that are castle in the skies or like kind of dreams, I think it's very important for us to dream, and it's very important for us to dream together. And I'd really like to, first of all, thank you for the wonderful interaction we've had, for example, in the roundtables about our various features. You had given us a lot of good ideas, and I hope that dialogue continues. And because all these dreams, I will still emphasize that they are realizable dreams. They are in our 3-year backlog, and at some point we want to be able to reach out to those cloudy, puffy dreams and take a strand and actually make it a release. And it's important that we do that collectively. So I'd like to discuss one thing to you now, to tell you a little bit about where we want to push a little Dust more into the EVE universe, and how the interaction will pan out. And for that, I'd like to talk to you about one very important thing, which is location. Location is pretty important in EVE, but location is a little bit more fuzzy for Dust mercenaries, because they are kind of like a clone jump directly into battles. So they are really in a station. It doesn't really matter where they are. And this kind of difference between our characters, the Capsuleers and the mercenaries, is something that we need to resolve somehow. And in EVE, location is important through the way that we create our environments. And there is a fourth design principle that I didn't mention on Thursday in my presentation. Is we'd like to create difficulty mountains for players. By that, we don't mean that we want to create insurmountable obstacle, but we want to create an environment where players can find the level that they are happy with, or can cope with, and then they can work on their skills and etc. And then they move a little bit higher. So this is encapsulated in our universe. You could say that the security status is the fundamental gradient, but that gradient, of course, has been used to seed all kinds of environmental things in the world. And there are like a difficulty mountains in the type of rats you meet, the scarcity of the ores, etc. So location matters from that point of view. And in Dust, location, we have been using location to a certain point, but mostly in terms of the gameplay that you can access to. So like in a high sec, that's where the very casual instant battle happens, where there's basically no interaction between EVE and it's randomly selected people. So it's very casual. Then we introduce factional warfare, and now we are doing planetary conquest in the low sec. So we are gradually sort of opening it up. But with the advent of the drone infestation, this allows us to create sort of an environment that is like a gradient environment similar to the kind of resource or rat gradients that we have for the rest of the universe. So definitely that opens new possibilities. And when we look at when you are actually fighting against the environment such as this, it is a rather violent form of mining to a certain level. And of course you're doing it for your personal purposes. But wouldn't it be great if, let's say, your corporation owns a district on some planet, and the thing is, on that planet, you can only fight once every 24 hours because of the reinforcement timer. Wouldn't it be great in the other 23 hours if you could just go down to your district and do some drone gameplay that would actually give you, maybe you're alone or you're with a few core members, or you can drag somebody in a squad, that allows you to gain some resources personally, but also harvest resources that stay on a district and that are basically owned by the corporation. So this gives us like a resource kind of cycle, which is lacking currently in Dust, but that is very well evolved in EVE on the other hand. So then the next natural thing for this is to be able to bring those resources into EVE. And because first we were thinking like, should we create a manufacturing cycle in Dust or not? And then we thought like, well, why add all that complexity in Dust while we have a very good mechanism and industrialist in EVE to do that? So we should let the EVE industrialist actually manufacture all the Dust stuff by pushing up the resources there. And at this point, the space elevator becomes really strategic. And the nice thing about this cycle is it's a self-limiting cycle of supply and demand. That is, if there's a lot of Dust players, a lot of them are destroying things, items, they need more stuff, they need to harvest more production in EVE, etc. It's a nice little cycle that we can have there. And in that way, we could remove NPC supplies in Dust, just as we did in EVE at the time, where we started with NPC supplies, and then we gradually took them away as players took over. This is well within the possibilities. And as soon as we introduce this items. And in Dust currently, you have to move clones to be able to deploy them on the battlefields. And the clones are not the actual characters, they are more like the biomass into which you inject the soul of the mercenary when he instantiates on the battle. So these clones, they are really, it's a physical type. It should be brought to the battlefield. And in our current implementation of Planetary Conquest in LowSec, this happens really through NPCs. It's Genelution that handles this. But of course, we would like to have the logistics handled by Eve. This is like a concept out of a war barge, which is the thing that you deploy to a planet to actually attack a district. And this should really be navigated within Eve by Eve players and brought to the battlefield. And the very nice, interesting thing about that is that, like, once you have that, we can start thinking about battles in Dust that last forever, or basically that last as long as the logistic lines last, which is exactly like a true battle should be. Instead of like a limited session, it should really be like, as long as you can put in supplies there and there are people fighting for you, that's how epic those battles could be. Combining that with a commander mode, it will be epic. Now, there are other things which are interesting, like the tournaments here. We had this great Eve Dust combined tournament, which went very well. And there is a great interest in these kind of esports and kind of contests and tournaments. So we were thinking, we have always thought about the Gladiator mode, which is, wouldn't that be like a nice thing if you are a corporation owner? And because often the question is, how do you introduce esports in a way that maintains the verisimilitude of the universe you're in? So imagine, for example, that as a corporation, you could buy a special surface infrastructure called an arena that allows you to organize these kind of tournaments. And furthermore, being able to stream the battles happening there up to Eve, so that from there you could actually visualize that, and then introduce betting on the side, so you could like sponsor your teams. And who knows, you could also combine the space part as well. So these kind of things also, I think, is important for Eve to be able to, like, currently when you look down at the planet, you see these little dots when you like throw a bomb to it, and maybe some kills come up. But it would be nice if you could sort of peer a little bit into the battle, see it. So streaming it up would be a great thing, I think. And talking about locations, these, of course, in Eve, locations more familiar to you are like spaceships and stations. And it has always been like a natural fit somehow to imagine providing Eve players with a new kind of weapon that is like living weapon, so to speak, that you could like deploy to your enemies, and this will result in I don't know what kind of damage. And actually, this kind of environments are pretty easy for us to do. And this is, like I said before, this is well within the realm of what we can do. So it's just a question of like, when do we want this? And it's all very, where at this stage, we really reached the point where we really need to involve Eve and the Eve universe as a whole. So I'd like to introduce Andy Nordgren, senior producer of Eve, to continue on this dreamscape of ours. Thank you.
Hello. So let's talk about EVE Online. Yes, you want to hear about EVE Online? All right. So my job as the senior producer for EVE Online, it's really entirely focused on product development. So questions about how we develop Eve, what Eve should be, and what kind of changes we should make to it. And yesterday, I was showing you this space colonization vision for EVE Online. about space-scale construction and industry, about making your mark on the universe, and of course, about crafting, with your own efforts, the path to new frontiers in space. And that vision is the result of a process that I started when I came on as the senior producer for EVE. And it's to reach one of the internal goals that we have for EVE Online this year. It's to get us to a point where we have a 5-year vision, a 3-year roadmap, and a 12-month rolling plan for EVE Online. Sounds crazy, right? And Odyssey is really the first step on our new themed approach to expansions. And our 5-year vision should guide us in planning out the themed expansions that come after that. And by 5-year vision here, I don't just mean like, a few abstract sentences. I mean that we as a development team should have a shared and explicit, set of answers to the questions of where are we going and why. And that 5-year vision should then inform for us a 3-year roadmap from which we then derive that 12-month plan. And with this ambition in mind, we've gone through a process where we've gathered input from all aspects of developing EVE Online. From the technical situation we're in, to the plans and ambitions, and for example, the art department or the game design discipline, to just the general things that excite people about EVE Online. So during March, we've had a number of conversations, workshops, far-reaching survey to gather all of this input and really look at the core game and our sci-fi universe, and also a couple of other topics here. So that when we came into April, we've formed and validated this 5-year vision. And based on all of that input, and then of course also on my own analysis and strategy for how I see on EVE Online, stuff like the enablers and instigators and so on. And as we come out of Fanfest, we will continue the work we're in the middle of now to create a 3-year roadmap out of that vision. And before we ship Odyssey, we'll have plans in place for the next year and for what we're going to work on for the winter expansion. And this is a situation we haven't been in before. So the vision that you saw yesterday is very much grounded in the reality of what we can and want to do with the game. But of course, we also think about stuff that isn't yet so grounded. So I want to talk about a few of those things just now. So the idea of building a Stargate to the unknown is, of course, the pinnacle of this space colonization vision. And towards the kind of second half of that 5-year vision, we will expand the universe with truly new things. But I'm not going to tell you what those new things are, or what that new kind of space would be, both because it would be boring to know beforehand, but also because we haven't gotten to the part of our process where we really look into what's truly involved in executing on some of the plans and ideas that we have. Because we don't want to open new space in EVE Online that's just full of the stuff that you already know. So while we work on letting you colonize and build and shape the existing universe, we'll also work at the same time on developing both our ideas and our technology to be able to bring you a truly new aspect of the EVE universe once you construct those Stargates. We're also thinking about the experience you have with flying and fighting in your spaceship. And while we don't plan to change the basics of space flight in EVE Online for the spaceships you're currently flying, we think that there are many aspects of flying and fighting that could be much more immersive and visceral. And we really want to do something in this area, so we'll be thinking and experimenting with how we could do this without, of course, breaking the balance and great gameplay that we have already in the game around this. And then, of course, we're thinking about how we can create more cool interactions between EVE Online and other experiences in the universe, such as Dust 514. And Kjartan was talking about, logistics and manufacturing, and we're super excited about this stuff, but that's kind of within the realms of the game we have, and we can already do it, and we're also road mapping for exactly those kinds of things. But once we've looked into the construction and destruction side of structures and things in EVE Online, we'll have whole new possibilities to do stuff. So we're, dreaming of stuff like, firing these boarding torpedoes into a station where mercenaries have to fight the defending, soldiers to all the way to the reactor core to blow the station up, right? That's the kind of stuff we're dreaming about. So that's a quick glimpse beyond the space colonization vision. Thank you very much, and see you at the party tonight.
Woo! Man, I love to hear that girl talk about this. So we're reaching a bit of a moment in the keynote, so I want to turn off the lights a bit. This is so much, and I want to make a wave. Can we do it? Okay, if we start here in the front, and don't yet, and we're going to go all the way to the back, and we're going up the balconies, and we're going to go again down, and we're going to go up there, and we're going to go again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go! Go, 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 up the balcony, and down again. Come down, come down, come down, come down to the back, come, yeah, 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 come, hey! Hey, and up, and down, and up again. Put some, and up. Woo! Woo! I need to get the pub crawl a little more out. So, okay, basically, what we now walk through is a bit of the future vision. As you see, we can almost match the people into where we are. We have Antti taking care of the internet spaceship for us. We have Brandon with boots on the ground. And we have Kjartan building elevators and economies and crazy things like that. But we heard from John Lander yesterday about his transition, and I wrote a blog about that earlier. So I'm going to ask John to come and talk about this. As you see, this already was a part of the future vision. There's a mobile gizmo that makes you plan shit and do amazing things. And John is going to come back on, and he's going to talk a little bit about how he's approaching the topic. So, John.
Yep, full again. Excellent. Thanks, Hilmar. Thank you to everybody who bought me a drink last night. There were many of you. I'm okay, but my voice is a little croaky. It's been a long kind of 3 days, and we're coming to the end of it now. And obviously, I'm going to be transitioning from the executive producer role, and it's just really good to know that EVE Online is in such fantastic hands. We've got an amazing dev team who are up behind the screen there. And we've also got some fantastic people leading those amazing teams. You've just seen Andy. We've got Stoffer Soundwave. We've got Ripley. We've got Explorer. We've got a ton of really, really talented people who are going to be able to take EVE Online to really fantastic places. So the future is looking really good for EVE Online. But obviously, I'm moving on to something new. But the mobile thing hasn't actually been, it isn't something that's new to CCP. It's something that we have flirted with over the years. And we've always had an intention to do something sort of really, really important and meaningful in this area. You can tell this is an old presentation because it's from before widescreen. But this is a 2006 internal presentation that we had where we actually worked with one of the universities in Reykjavik to put together, in effect, a version of EVE in your hand. As you can see, it was quite cute. Some of this technology is kind of not the stuff that we would use today. But we actually had a version of this up and running. The only problem was if you had enough people using it, it would kill Tranquility. So maybe we weren't quite ready for it at that point. We had more important things to do. And things very much moved on. We obviously have the API, the read-only API right now. There are some amazing applications which have been developed by you, our community. We've got the Aura app on Android. Woo! There he is. We've got EveMon. We have things like EFT. Got some absolutely amazing applications which you guys have developed for yourselves. And we want to continue to encourage that, obviously, and if you've been looking at the developer track, you'll know what our plans for that. A thing which I was involved in quite heavily back at Fanfest in 2011, we'd done some work with NVIDIA, where we had Haldor, our CTO, up with Miguel from NVIDIA, really looking at some of these mobile devices. Hilmar got very excited. I think he walked off with that. Which is an early prototype. But we had ship fitting. We had some of the beginnings of these applications that we want to start looking at. But we didn't take it further at the time. It was important for us to focus and make sure that we were doing the right thing for EVE, the right thing for Dust. But we do have a lot of very talented people at CCP who have been playing with these things in their spare time, similar in a way to what the EVR prototypes that you've been seeing downstairs have been going. One of our graphics programmers basically put, hey, it's the character creator, but look carefully and it's running in a browser, in an HTML page. Great, amazing piece of kit. You can mold the face, you can do all the things that you would normally do. It's got a few bugs. It's not perfect. We have another one of our graphics programmers, Steve. He's a real Apple fan. He gives me a hard time about it. I've got an Android phone. But he's just been knocking some things together, and he's basically got a ship spinner and viewer running on iPhone. So we have a lot of these things happening in-house, but we haven't really sort of pulled them together yet. And one of the reasons why now is such a good time for us is that Crest is really coming of age. We've spoken a lot about it over the years, but things are really beginning to happen with this. And the technology is now at a mature enough stage where we're more than happy to use it to connect into Tranquility. Normally, we've only really allowed the EVE client to do that, which was sort of built specifically for the purpose of connecting to TQ. But Crest, we've got real confidence now that this is the technology we can use and that will allow third-party developers to use to actually read and write into our back-end servers. It's complicated. There's a ton of stuff on here, which a lot of people have put a huge amount of time and effort into building and developing. And really, this quote from the original architecture of REST as a concept, Roy Fielding. This is this is something to read. This statement resonates with me when we look at what we're trying to do with EVE and what we're trying to do with our universe, which is going to be lasting for decades to come. And this really is the kind of technologies that we should be using. Crest, like I said, has been maturing. We've been putting it through a fairly major stress test since January this year because it's the way that Dust 514 connects into TQ. So all of that work that's been going on, or all of those Dust players who are interacting with their inventory or with orbital strikes or with chat with their EVE colleagues, all of that is happening through Crest. So we're really battle testing this technology. And it's fantastic, sort of as my first moments on stage as the person looking at mobile for CCP, to make a bit of an announcement. So summer of this year, just after we've released Dust 5.1.4 on 5.1.4, 14th of May, we will be shipping a Vita Neocom application where you'll be able to look at your skills, change your skills. You'll be able to use email. You'll be able to look at the market. You'll be able to look at your contacts. You'll be able to actually do significant parts of the game actually on a mobile application. And this, for us, is a really major moment. There's a huge amount of work that's gone into this by a very small team. But this really is our tracer bullet. This is the way that we want to take these technologies, this kind of capability, and actually start putting it into your hands, not just for Dust 5.1.4, but also for EVE Online. But this is just the beginning, absolutely just the beginning. As you've seen, we have a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. There are a lot of bits we don't have yet, but it's going to be my fun job to find out as I really put together with working right the way across the company and with you, the community, to what is our strategy? How do we pull all of these things together and actually make a really coherent and rapid push into delivering mobile tech into your hands? A really important thing for me, especially coming from the position I'm kind of moving out of, is we have to do this without taking anything away from EVE Online or Dust 5.1.4. We need to continue to actually keep our focus on those products. So this will be building something new. This will be something additive. This won't be taking things away from EVE Online. In fact, the intention is for all of these games is to add a huge amount into them. Because we really do want this. This is the picture that we actually want for CCP. This is what we want for our virtual universes. And just really to put kind of, I guess, the clock ticking in the back of my head, I'm just going to leave you with this, which is this time next year at Fanfest, you will have EVE Mobile in your hands and you will be able to use it. I'd love for you to tell me what you would want in your hands at that point. What do you actually want to be playing? That's my Twitter tag. Please let me know. I'll be reaching out in many different ways, but I want you, our community, to really say, what is it that you want to be doing in a mobile world with CCP? Thank you.
So, a lot of what John was saying, and I was saying earlier when we were talking about what Torve is doing, is to create organizational structure within CCP that is able to hold focus and prioritization better than we have done before. Because CCP had grown very rapidly early on, and of course we came to a head in 2011 where we were just not able to keep focus on things. So when we think of, and people are asking me what is happening to Incarna, which I could sort of revolve and turn around into, when are we going to go and open the door? Then I just want to say, right now, that is not a priority for CCP. Doesn't mean that it won't never happen, but as you see, there's a lot going on. We're releasing our first console game. We're doing amazing expansion strategy for EVE Online. So the focus for this year is very much on EVE Online, Infinite Spaceships, boots on the ground in Dust, and getting through the year concretely. But as John was saying, there is a lot going on the mobile front in a natural way at CCP. So frankly, having John to go and build a strategy for us on this front actually helps the focus on the other sides. Because we have worked a lot on structuring CCP better so that our strategy can match, basically our structure can match our strategy, and we have sort of improved our processes. This was a big topic for 2012 to make CCP much stronger in this front, and we're going to take advantage of it this year with brutal focus on getting EVE onto a plan to the second decade that Antti has shown us now twice, and the boots on the ground and all the wonderful things that Brandon was walking through that we're going to deliver in this year. Because even if we have a wonderful vision for the future, it actually matters much more what we do in the present. What you do right now is going to affect the future of EVE Online much more than our vision of the future. And that is really the topic of this year for all of CCP, is to focus. Yeah, we know doing this is really hard. Eve is hard. Making it is really hard. As we talked about yesterday, does things to you. And we will not lose sight of that. This will be the priority. The door will remain closed. Maybe we'll talk about something next Fanfest, but there is no one really working on that right now. Because we have forever to take care of, and we will find a way to open the door. Now, okay, you want the door open? Yeah. Okay. How much do we want the door open? Yeah. Okay, guys. Got it. We'll talk about it next year. So, now to change topics entirely about something that doesn't say focus at all. So, we talked about it yesterday, the Oculus Rift thing, which is this natural formation of this wonderful team came together and did some amazing stuff. How many people have tried it out? And just like we saw with mobile, I mean, we've been exploring mobile since 2006. Now it's about to come into focus, and it's turning into a strategy, and next year we move along with it. I think something will come of this in a similar way. I spoke about it yesterday, that you would look like basically this. So here are some examples. Some people looking really, really silly. And for those that hadn't a chance to check it out, I'm going to play the trailer again that basically introduces EVR. So, roll movie. To talk about these things, we have Nate Mitchell, who's VP of Product and co-founder of Oculus Rift, or Oculus VR. Nate, come and tell us what you think about this. So, Nate, whoa.
Hey, everyone.
So, what do you think?
So, I've seen a lot of VR demos at this point since we started shipping Rift development kits. And this is really hands down probably the best VR demo we've seen. I think really when it really just comes down to having such a talented team of guys come together that are passionate about games and excited about VR. I know two of the guys were actually day one backers. So building a game from the ground up with like EVR for the Oculus Rift, you do get this incredible experience that's unlike anything else. And certainly for me, hopefully some of you guys had a chance to try it, but every time I step inside EVR and I'm sitting in that cockpit and I punch out into that dogfight in the asteroid belt, you get that sense of presence. That's like the closest I've come to realizing the childhood dream of like piloting a spaceship through the stars. So just another round of applause for the team that put that together. They did a really amazing job.
One thing I heard, and maybe you can confirm it for me. So is this the first thing that has been done like exclusively for the Oculus, or?
So it is basically the very first made-for-VR game that we've seen, and I think another aspect of that is the whole multiplayer portion, right? Doing the 6v6 dogfight, flying out of the carrier and looking to your left and seeing, your wingmen next to you, it's pretty unreal.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that. Cool. There was something that freaked me out about it, and I could sort of imagine, okay, I have a thing on my head, I can look around, and then you can sort of visualize that, and it's wasn't that. I mean, it was lush and very amazing to do it, but then something happened when I looked down, and I saw my body, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm not wearing this shirt. No, why can't I move my hands? What's good? And now it's not me. That freaked me out. And there was something I thought okay, if I could lift my hand, if I could do this and a fire, and I could do a LARPer fireball. And I thought okay, what if we had a Kinect or something like that? I mean, is that something you guys are looking into, or?
So, we can't make any announcements today, but human-computer interaction is something we're super interested in. And I think if some of you tried the demo, gamepad, keyboard, and mouse, the sorts of inputs we've been tied to for, the better part of a decade or over a decade, those aren't necessarily going to be the best inputs for VR. So I think just like you were describing, you want to reach down in EVR, grab the throttle, grab the stick, and punch out into that dogfight. And at Oculus, we certainly think that's the direction VR gaming is headed.
Okay. So, I mean, theoretically, could we maybe pull off at some Fanfest in the future? Just imagine we're on the stage, there are Kinects all over, we have each of our Oculus Rift things, and we stand here, I see you, not looking like an idiot, you would see you like a school pod pilot, and I would be here, and you could see your hands and all that, and then we could walk together and open that sorted door.
Absolutely. I hope so.
Okay. Would we want that? Okay. So if you could rush on that and make that happen.
We'll work on it. We'll talk after the show.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Hilmar.
Thank you. So here are some of the quotes we've been getting out of the press. This has become a bit of a press darling, more so than we actually expected. It actually feels like the unleashing the power of hell with the power of your mind. If that isn't being a pod pilot in EVE Online, I don't know what is. It's basically the game I wanted to play since at the age of 6 when I wanted to be a space pilot. Oh. And this one, I hope someday this gets released to its own game and becomes more than a wonderful demo at a fan event. So, of course, we have to regroup with the team on questions like that, and keeping in mind focus. We will not lose our shit and chase this while we get through releasing Dust, releasing Oddity, Winter Expansion in the year. It's focus. But let's celebrate these guys again. This was phenomenal. Okay, so speaking of celebrating good people, there was in 2007, I had this ridiculous idea of giving Reynir and Ivar Viking swords because they had worked for 10 years at CCP at that point in time. I think it might have been a secret plot to get one myself, and I got mine some years ago. But then everyone wants one, and now this is now turned into a bit of a tradition. Here we have like a wall of swords down at CCP. And so if there is anyone that thinks of attacking CCP, I would think twice. So I want to begin by welcoming on stage some of the people that currently own a sword. So guys, if you would like walk on and be here with me. And if you take your position over there. So here are some of our CCP old-timers. Then I want to welcome on stage this wonderful group of CCP employees that is turning 10 today. So come on, birthday boys and girls. And please stand over there. So, this is something we've usually done just inside CCP and haven't made a public affair out of. But now that Eve is turning 10, there's no better year than to start the 10-year birthday celebration of these wonderful people that have been with us now for 10 years and done amazing things. So, please, veterans, if you would go and hand them their swords. And veterans, if you were to exit. And now if you would stand in front of our players and raise your swords. No. Woo! Yeah. Can we do one hip hip hooray for them? So, hip hip hooray! Thank you. Thank you for your hard work over the past 10 years. Thank you. And congratulations. So, this is all getting a bit epic. It's like 10 years of EVE Online. All these wonderful stories, which we're now collecting into the True Stories website. I told my own story yesterday when I lost my friend's thorax and I had to mine rather than fix bugs to give it back. And we're already getting submissions into the True Story website, and I really want everyone to grab the opportunity that now we're telling you about some of the things that we're doing about it. But there is something that feels that now it's 10 years, it's the 10-year birthday, it feels like there's something to go and memorialize it. And I cannot build a pyramid yet. So we've been thinking about what could we do? Could we raise a monument to celebrate the first decade, to celebrate everything that we've done together? And we had this idea, and it's like we were working with an artist, and here's a concept that you guys have seen downstairs. This is an idea to build a monument here in Reykjavik that would be 5.14 meters tall. And it's something, as you see, it's architecture out of EVE Online, and there is something about poetry and inspiration. Here's another approach, which is a construct out of EVE Online, and then a guy who's pointing at the sky. Maybe he's pointing at where the EVE gate is. And there's something we've been exploring this, and we want to create something that is both a monument to EVE Online, but also a piece of art that can stand for thousands of years. And we've been working here with the city of Reykjavik, and I found out that erecting a monument in a city to stand for thousands of years is a little complicated. But we have done complicated things before. One of the ideas we have to do is that the plaque underneath the monument would be out of anodized aluminum, and we would write the name of every person that is an active participant in EVE Online during the month of May when the birthday occurs. So that on this thing, we could print out all your names. And we've, yeah. And that was, absolutely, both living and currently alive and currently not with our Eve players. We would find a way to make all that happen. But I had hoped to be able to just tell you exactly where it is, and we could all go there tomorrow and do something fun there at the place. But we haven't completed it. It's more complicated than I thought, but we have done complicated things. So we will figure out exactly what it is. I would love to hear some feedback on these concepts. There's also work with our artists on defining more the Eve piece of this, and working with the city of doing something that can be here in Reykjavik for 1,000 years. So expect more news on this shortly after Fanfest. So, on with the show. I mean, we're working on this project with the player stories, true stories, your stories. But the Eve universe also had a story prior to you guys seizing power of it. And that is sort of the backstory. And in a bit of a Fanfest tradition, we have now had a team of ninja masters craft together a new trailer. And it's a trailer focused on the backstory of EVE Online. And I'm now going to play it.
Earth, the origin of our ancestors. A century had passed since they discovered the Eve Gate, a wormhole, passage to a remote corner of the universe. New Eden. It was the largest colonization effort in the history of man. The mass settlement of hundreds of strange new worlds. We thought nothing could stop us. After the Eve Gate collapsed, countless colonies perished. The scattered survivors forgot the old world. Fragments of mankind, light years apart, lost contact. Thousands of dark years passed until humanity rose again to be with the stars. In different corners of New Eden, great empires had evolved. 4 different faces of humanity. When they clashed, the wars were merciless. Out of the years of conflict, a new kind of human emerged. One capable of immortal life. To transform into this rare breed, we pay the ultimate price. At the moment of death, our mind is transferred to a fresh clone. We have become immortal. In the sky, we reach farther. On the ground, we strike harder. The empires are losing their grasp on power. And as our age begins to dawn, they will learn to fear us.
Okay. I will play it again. But every time we do this, this is what I please make an Eve movie. Shut up and take my money. Like, yeah, I kind of like that second guy. It's yeah, but what about this movie thing? So it's like, I mean, we've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, but it never really. How can you make a movie? It's like 90 minutes. How can you fit how can you fit a movie into that? But there is this new concept, which is these wonderfully mature and deep and dark television miniseries, which frankly feels much more like something we could fit EVE Online into that. But like, what would the story be? We thought about that also. So step one, collect the stories. So, clear skies for sure, but also what we want to do is to find a way to take your stories, everything that has happened in the EVE universe, and inspires the world every time that it sort of reaches out into the real universe through press coverage of it. We want to find a way to basically take a true story that has already happened 20,000 years from now and bring it into our televisions. And this is not just something that we just want to do. We've actually been working a bit on it. Part of what they have been doing in the IP development division, remember, focus. Frankly, I don't even spend a lot of time on this. I'm still in the internet spaceship, boots on the ground business, more than this. But we have been working with a guy here in Iceland whose name is Baltasar Kormákur. He actually, and it's something, why are we working with somebody here? Well, I mean, it's a complicated thing to get going. We're working with his creative team, and our teams are sort of working on how we bring this about. He actually has done a lot of really cool stuff, so he really knows how to do this. And I was actually going to play just a little reel from his movie, which is coming now at the end of summer, which is called Two Guns, which just to kind of give you an idea of how he does things. So if we could cue the trailer.
He ripped off the CIA. Where's the money? It ain't down there, I can guarantee you that.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
You got 24 hours to bring me the money.
Said the Joker to the thief. Yeah.
Sure you can trust this guy?
Make it rain.
You're my people and there's a code. You fight for the guy that's fighting next to you.
So, it has backstabbing, intrigue, it has explosions. Well, it happens in current day, but easy enough to fix. He's actually a great guy, and we've been working with him, and what we're coming up with is actually a great way to approach the topic. He's actually, right now, in Hungary, practicing. He's making a pilot for an HBO miniseries, so he is doing his sort of practice run, and sort of, well, don't take my word for it that he's a good guy. I asked him to put like a little speech to bring to here, since he couldn't be with us as he is practicing. So, if we could cue that.
Hello, all you capsulers out there. My name is Baltasar Kormákur. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you today because I'm, as we speak, in Hungary shooting a pilot for HBO called Missionary. When I heard the pitch, it happened 20,000 years in the future and it's based on a true story, I was in. What a fascinating possibility. Being able to tap into your stories, the stories you have created over the years, the stories of the capsulers and the stories of New Eden, and create a TV show. This is a dream situation for a writer and a director to be able to tap into an infinite source of material. infinite story machine, you could call it. What we intend to do is to honor the game, honor its players, and use your stories to create a TV series. And that way, present the world of New Eden to hopefully millions of viewers.
Woo! So, with all that in mind, please submit your stories before the 7th of May. And now let's watch the trailer again, thinking of all this.
Earth, the origin of our ancestors. A century had passed since they discovered the Eve Gate, a wormhole, passage to a remote corner of the universe. New Eden. It was the largest colonization effort in the history of man. The mass settlement of hundreds of strange new worlds. We thought nothing could stop us. After the Eve Gate collapsed, countless colonies perished. The scattered survivors forgot the old world. Fragments of mankind, light years apart, lost contact. Thousands of dark years passed until humanity rose again to be with the stars. In different corners of New Eden, great empires had evolved. 4 different faces of humanity. When they clashed, the wars were merciless. Out of the years of conflict, a new kind of human emerged. One capable of immortal life. To transform into this rare breed, we pay the ultimate price. At the moment of death, our mind is transferred to a fresh clone. We have become immortal. In the sky, we reach farther. On the ground, we strike harder. The empires are losing their grasp on power. And as our age begins to dawn, they will learn to fear us.
Please, if you were to bring the light into the balcony, these are the people that make all this happen. Please give them a huge applause. Stand up, please. Stand up. Stand up. Thank you. So we've booked the Harpa again for next year. It's 1st of May. This whole summer thing is kind of having its vibe. So hopefully see all of you here next year. Thank you. Thank you. And see you at the party.